It all lasted only a few seconds. A young woman collapsed onto the grass of center court, unable to hold back the tears as more than 15,000 people rose to their feet. Around the world, millions saw another Wimbledon upset. But what they didn't see was the 15-year journey hidden behind that single moment. They didn't see the lonely nights, the impossible choices, the homesickness, or the little girl who once believed that beating her older brother after school was the biggest dream she would ever have. On that unforgettable afternoon, Alex Eala wasn't simply celebrating the biggest victory of her career. She was watching every sacrifice of her life finally come full circle. And the truth is, this story never really began at Wimbledon. It started thousands of miles away on a quiet tennis court in the Philippines, where nobody could have imagined they were watching history take its very first swing. Long before the roaring crowds and flashing cameras, there was simply a family that loved sports. Alex grew up in Quezon City surrounded by competition and encouragement. Her mother had represented the Philippines in swimming at the Southeast Asian Games. Her father supported every athletic dream his children dared to chase. But tennis wasn't the obvious path. In the Philippines, basketball filled the streets, volleyball packed the gyms, and boxing heroes inspired generations. Tennis existed, but rarely as the dream that captured an entire nation. For most children, it wasn't even considered realistic. Yet for Alex, none of that mattered because her introduction to the sport had nothing to do with fame. It began with family. Her grandfather placed a racket in her hands. Her older brother was already practicing, and like countless younger siblings around the world, she refused to be left behind. Every afternoon after school became another challenge. She wasn't thinking about grand slams. She wasn't dreaming of world rankings or center court. She only wanted one thing: beat her brother. That tiny competition became the spark that quietly changed everything. She would arrive wearing ruffled socks, light-up shoes, and the unmistakable smile of a carefree child. There were no television crews documenting those moments. No sponsors. No social media clips collecting millions of views. Just endless repetition. Swing after swing. Ball after ball. Day after day. Her grandfather repeated the same lesson until it became part of who she was. If you want something badly enough, you earn it. No shortcuts. No excuses. No guarantees. Years later, people would describe Alex as a prodigy, but that word never truly fit her story. Prodigies are often imagined as children whose greatness appears effortlessly, as though success simply finds them. Alex's journey was nothing like that. Every step demanded another sacrifice. Every improvement required another obstacle to be overcome. She wasn't walking along a path that others had already built. She was creating one from scratch. That became painfully clear as her talent continued to grow. Eventually, her family faced a decision that would test every ounce of courage they possessed. The local opportunities had taken Alex as far as they could. If she truly wanted to compete against the world's best, staying home was no longer enough. Better coaching, better facilities, better competition. Everything pointed toward one destination. But dreams always sound easier than reality. Alex was only 13 years old when her life changed forever. Imagine being old enough to understand exactly what you're leaving behind, but still young enough to desperately need your parents every single day. That's the impossible position she found herself in. She packed her bags, hugged her family goodbye, and flew halfway across the world to join the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. On paper, it looked like the perfect opportunity. World-class coaches, elite training partners, the same environment that had shaped one of the greatest competitors tennis had ever seen. To outsiders, it looked like the golden ticket every young player dreams about. What nobody saw were the nights when the silence became unbearable. No academy, no matter how famous, can replace home. No championship banners can erase loneliness. At 13 years old, Alex wasn't simply learning forehands and backhands. She was learning how to grow up without the comfort of her family beside her. Every birthday missed. Every holiday spent overseas. Every celebration watched through a phone screen became another reminder of what success was costing her. Many talented juniors arrive at elite academies believing hard work alone will guarantee greatness. Reality quickly teaches them something different. Tennis is ruthless. Thousands dedicate their lives to the sport. Only a handful ever reach the highest level. Talent gets you invited. Sacrifice determines whether you survive. Alex kept surviving. Month after month became year after year. While other teenagers enjoyed ordinary school lives, she lived inside a relentless routine of practices, fitness sessions, travel, recovery, and constant competition. She wasn't building memories most teenagers would remember forever. She was chasing a dream that still offered no promises. And that uncertainty became the hardest opponent of all. Because here's what people often forget about professional tennis. Progress isn't always visible. You can improve dramatically while your ranking barely moves. You can dedicate years of your life without receiving any public recognition. You can work harder than ever and still feel invisible. That's exactly where Alex found herself. The headlines weren't celebrating her yet. Casual fans didn't know her name. Outside tennis circles, very few people understood the journey unfolding behind the scenes. Tournament after tournament, she continued grinding through lower-level events, fighting for ranking points that most sports fans never even notice. Every victory mattered. Every defeat hurt. Every week became another test of whether belief could survive without immediate rewards. There were flashes of brilliance. In 2022, she captured the US Open girls singles title, instantly becoming one of the brightest junior talents in world tennis. For insiders, it confirmed what many already suspected. Alex possessed something special, but junior success is only the beginning. Professional tennis doesn't care what you accomplished as a teenager. Every match starts at love all. Every opponent expects you to prove yourself again. Potential earns respect for only a moment. Results are what truly matter. As she entered the professional circuit, reality struck with full force. By 2024, Alex remained outside the world's top 100. At one stage, she hovered around number 147. To many people, that might still sound impressive. In professional tennis, it represents one of the most difficult places imaginable. You're good enough to know your dream is possible, yet far enough away that nothing feels secure. Prize money barely covers expenses. Every tournament becomes financially important. Every flight, every hotel, every training block carries enormous weight. One injury can change everything. One losing streak can make years of sacrifice suddenly feel frighteningly uncertain. Behind every ranking number is a family asking difficult questions. How much longer can we keep doing this? How much more can we invest? When does belief become too expensive? Those questions never disappeared for Alex or the people who loved her. They simply learned to carry them quietly. Yet something remarkable happened. Instead of allowing uncertainty to weaken her determination, it sharpened it. Every setback became another reason to continue. Every disappointment became another lesson. Every lonely morning in Spain strengthened the resilience that would eventually shock the tennis world. Then, just when years of invisible work seemed destined to remain hidden forever, the story took an extraordinary turn. The calendar read March 2025. Few people expected anything historic to happen at the Miami Open. Alex entered as a wild card, respected by insiders but overlooked by almost everyone else. She wasn't listed among the favorites. Television coverage focused on bigger stars. Analysts discussed established champions. Most fans barely noticed her name appearing in the draw. That would change faster than anyone imagined. Her opening victories forced people to look twice. Then she defeated former Grand Slam champion Jelena Ostapenko. Suddenly, whispers started spreading around the tournament grounds. Maybe this young Filipino wasn't just another promising prospect. Then came another enormous test. Madison Keys. Another Grand Slam champion. Another player with devastating power. Another obstacle that seemed far too big. Once again, Alex refused to play like an underdog. She stood toe-to-toe with one of the sport's biggest hitters and walked away victorious. Now people weren't whispering anymore. They were paying attention. But nobody could have predicted what waited around the corner. Because the next opponent wasn't simply another top player. It was Iga Swiatek, one of the defining champions of her generation. a player who had built her reputation by breaking opponents mentally before the final point was ever played. And what happened next would change Alex Eala's career forever. She wasn't facing a rising star. She was standing across the net from a player who had dominated women's tennis, a multiple-time Grand Slam champion who made even the world's best competitors look ordinary. On paper, the results seemed almost inevitable. Experience favored Swiatek. Rankings favored Swiatek. Expectations favored Swiatek. Almost nobody believed Alex Eala was about to shake the entire tournament. But sometimes the biggest moments begin with someone refusing to believe what everyone else believes. From the opening games, something felt different. Alex wasn't intimidated. She wasn't swinging wildly in search of miracle winners. She played with remarkable composure, matching one of the game's greatest champions shot for shot. Every rally grew longer. Every point became a battle of patience, courage, and belief. Instead of shrinking under the spotlight, she seemed to grow stronger with every challenge. Even the crowd began to sense they were witnessing something extraordinary. Then the impossible became reality. Alex defeated Iga Swiatek. Not because the champion collapsed. Not because luck suddenly favored the underdog. She earned every single point through fearless tennis and unwavering confidence. After the match, Swiatek herself admitted the truth. Alex had simply been the better player that day. Those words echoed far beyond Miami. They validated years of sacrifice, endless training sessions, and countless moments when quitting would have been the easier option. But what many people failed to understand was that Miami wasn't the ending of Alex's story. It was only the beginning. Although her remarkable run eventually ended in the semifinals, she walked away with something far more valuable than a trophy. She finally possessed proof. Proof that she belonged among the world's elite. The invisible ceiling that had followed her for years suddenly disappeared. She no longer wondered whether she could compete with the best players on earth. She knew she could beat them. Confidence changes athletes in ways statistics never fully explain. Her ranking climbed rapidly. Victories became more consistent. She captured another important title at WTA 125 level, proving Miami had not been a lucky week but the arrival of a genuine contender. Around the Philippines, excitement exploded. More fans stayed awake through the night to watch her matches. More young players picked up rackets. For the first time, tennis had become part of everyday conversations across the country. Then came Wimbledon. By the summer of 2026, Alex had already achieved another historic milestone before hitting a single ball. She arrived as the tournament's 29th seed, becoming the first Filipino player ever to earn a Grand Slam seeding. It wasn't simply another statistic. It represented years of perseverance finally being recognized on the biggest stage. She opened the tournament with authority, becoming the first Filipino to win a Wimbledon main draw singles match. In the next round, she recovered from losing the opening set before storming back with complete control, proving she possessed not only talent but resilience under pressure. Then destiny delivered another unforgettable chapter. Standing across the net once again was Iga Swiatek. Only this time, everything felt bigger. Miami had surprised the tennis world. Center court demanded confirmation. The match quickly transformed into an emotional war. Every game carried enormous weight. Neither player wanted to blink first. The opening set stretched beyond an hour as rallies became increasingly brutal. Alex built a lead in the tiebreak, only to watch Swiatek fight her way back. Suddenly, the defending champion held set points. One mistake could have changed the entire afternoon. Alex refused to break. She erased one set point, then another. The pressure became almost unbearable, but somehow she stayed calm. When the tiebreak finally ended in her favor after an incredible battle, the atmosphere inside center court shifted completely. For the first time, people genuinely believed they might be watching history unfold. The second set told an even more remarkable story. Alex attacked with complete confidence, racing into a commanding lead while the defending champion struggled to find answers. Swiatek fought back, as champions always do, but Alex never allowed doubt to creep into her game. Every shot reflected years of preparation, discipline, and belief. Then came championship point. One final exchange. One final swing. Swiatek's answers sailed long. Alex dropped to her knees. Tears poured down her face as center court erupted around her. Those tears weren't only for beating a champion. They were for the 13-year-old who left home chasing an impossible dream. They were for every lonely night in Spain. For every practice when nobody was watching. For every family member who sacrificed so she could keep believing. For every Filipino who had waited decades to see someone carry their flag onto one of tennis' greatest stages. As she stood to acknowledge the roaring crowd, Alex wasn't simply celebrating an upset. She had become proof that impossible dreams sometimes belong to the people willing to sacrifice the most. And perhaps that's the most powerful part of her story. She isn't trying to become the next great champion. She has already become the first Alex Eala. The first Filipino to inspire an entire nation to believe that Wimbledon isn't a dream reserved for someone else. It's a dream that now has a face. And if this remarkable journey has taught the tennis world anything, it's this. The biggest chapter may still be waiting to be written.